In Chapter 12, you're going to read about a period that some historians call the Crisis of the Union. Issues left over from the very founding of the country, specifically slavery and states' rights, will come to the forefront, defy compromise, and eventually lead to the fracturing of the nation. While big topics will dominate the headlines, even small towns like Jacksonville and Ottawa, Illinois, will play their part in the discussion as well. As you read Chapter 12, the three themes that you need to keep in mind. Number 1, increasing divisions between the North and the South. Number 2, the Compromise of 1850 and its outcomes. And number 3, an irrepressible conflict.
Hi, I'm Lizzie. Usually I'm behind the camera, but today I wanted to show you around Woodland Farm, a stop on the Underground Railroad just 3 miles outside of Jacksonville, Illinois.
The Compromise of 1850 contained a new, tougher Fugitive Slave Act that not only made it illegal to assist runaway slaves, but required the North to assist in their capture and return to their masters. Private homes like Woodlawn Farm were part of a network called the Underground Railroad that defied the law and helped runaway slaves avoid detection and continue fleeing northwards, often not stopping until they got to Canada beyond the reach of the Fugitive Slave Act.
Today, I'm in Ottawa, Illinois, at the site of the first of the 7 Lincoln and Douglas debates. Most of you are probably familiar with these debates. Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas square off as the Republican and Democrat candidates for the Senate seat from the state of Illinois in 1858. And here in the land of Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln gets most of the credit for challenging Douglas, an acknowledged leader of the U.S. Senate, and running him a very, very tight race. However, Lincoln may have had the easier task. Lincoln's audience already felt aggrieved, to a certain extent, by the decisions made by the Supreme Court in the Dred Scott case and Congress in its ratification of popular sovereignty, both of which seem to redefine property and make it plausible that slavery could actually be extended to all the territories and maybe even the North if people simply voted for it. Looked at it from that perspective, Douglas has a much more difficult task. Douglas is trying to head a national party. There are Democrats in the North and in the South. They've seen these decisions and they have different interpretations on them. They're very, very divisive issues and they're open to different viewpoints. Lincoln forces Douglas to take some hard and fast positions on these very, very debatable topics during the election. These debates wind up resulting in a Douglas victory. However, it's a very, very costly victory for him. As we all know, in 1860, Abraham Lincoln, now catapulted onto the main stage, is going to be the presidential candidate for the Republican Party. Stephen Douglas, partially as a result of the stances he took in these debates, will be one of the Democratic candidates for presidency. The Democratic Party is actually going to shatter, partially because of the interpretations of these very discussions that happened in 7 small towns around the state of Illinois. Once again, as you read Chapter 12, remember to keep these 3 things in mind. Number 1, increasing divisions between the North and the South. Number 2, the Compromise of 1850. And number 3, an irrepressible conflict. So long from Jacksonville and from Ottawa. I'll see you for Chapter 13.